In today's lesson, we are going to be looking at solving exponential equations with technology. So just a little bit of a review. Let's solve the following exponential functions. So for a, 3x equals 9 to the power of 2x plus 6. Right, we should recognize that 9 can be written as a base with, or as a power with base 3 is 3 squared. So 3 squared to the power of 2x plus 6. Simplify 3x equals 3 to the power of 2 times 2x plus 6. And now that I have common bases, we learned in the previous lesson, now we can compare exponents. So x is going to equal 2 times 2x plus 6. I'm going to distribute or multiply the 2 through. I get x is equal to 4x plus 12. I'm going to move the 4x over. It becomes by minusing 4x. I get negative 3x is equal to 12. Divide both sides by 3. And we get x is equal negative 3. And we get x is equal to negative 4. So that is our solution. If we look at B or try to do the same thing in B, we realize that we can't quite do that. We don't have common bases. And we can't really get common bases because there isn't a number that 5, we can't represent 5 as a power with base 3. We can't represent 3 as a power of base 5. So we don't have common bases. And for right now, we're going to look at how we can solve these types of equations using technology. Now, in some cases, there are going to be ways that we can calculate it by hand, but for right now, let's just focus on solving it with technology. So there are a couple steps, and what we're going to do, we're going to break the equation into two equations. We're going to come up with two equations from the situation we have. We're going to input both of those equations into Desmos or a graphing program. We're going to locate the point of intersection, and then the x value of the point of intersection is our solution. So in this case, we have 3x equals 5. So step 1 says I have to break it up into two equations. So the first one will be y equals 3x, and the other one will be y equals 5. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put those two equations into Desmos. So again, if you're not familiar with Desmos, you go to desmos.com, click to access the graphing calculator, and you get something that looks like this. So I'm going to enter my first one, y equals 3 to the power of x, and we get our graph. Do the second one, y is equal to 5, and we have our graph. We have our two lines. Desmos will always give us a point where the lines intersect, where we can kind of click on it, or where the points come up. Otherwise, we might have to click on the graph or on the line itself and find it. But Desmos is nice. It does give us that point. You see it in gray. I click on it and I get my point. So the x value for this point is 1.465. So that is the solution to our equation. Right? So in this case, we have x is equal to 1.465. And that's all that we're going to be doing. That's how we solve these exponential functions using technology. So let's go through and solve each of the following. Right, so I'm going to start with the first one. I'm going to come up with the two equations. So y equals 3x and y equals 90. I'm going to plug both of these into Desmos. So 3x is already done. 90 is the next one. Now, sometimes you might have to zoom out, right? So again, you just zoom out. You might have to readjust your wheel or not readjust your graph. But again, the nice thing is when you click on it, you should see a gray dot, which will tell us the point of intersection. So you don't really have to find it. You don't have to find it like you might have to other points. So here we can see that x is equal to 4.096. So that is the solution to this equation. Back to the next one. Again, create two equations. So y equals 0.4x, y equals 25. And again, we're just going to enter those two into Desmos. So I can delete these. Y equals 0.4 power of x. If you don't know how to do the power button, it's just Shift and 6. You should see that little hat, little triangle that looks like that. Additionally, in the bottom corner, you see the show keypad. Kind of blocked by my other screen, but you can see that there is a keypad that pops up, so you can use, you can kind of click as well. So y equals 0.4x, y equals 25. Those are the two equations. I'm going to zoom in to make sure I click on the right point. And we get that x is equal to, oops, lost it. X is equal to negative 3.513. So you can see how it might be difficult to find these. And again, we don't know how to solve these by hand if we don't have technology or if they don't have common bases. Like I said, we'll learn about that later on. But for right now, let's just learn how to do it with technology first. Lastly, 2 to the power of x minus 5 and equals 15. So again, one equation, y equals 2 to the power of x minus 5. The other is y is equal to 15. So essentially, you're creating equations for both sides of the equal sign. You're setting both sides equal to y. And we take those two equations, we go and graph them. So y equals 2 to the power of x minus 5. Oops. Minus 5. Oops. You do want to put it into brackets. You might have saw me trying to do it, and the minus 5 is going down low. So you do have to put brackets around the exponent if it is something other than x. And then y equals 15. Now I have the two equations, or two graphs. I click on the point of intersection. I get x is equal to 8.907. Again, we're looking only for the x value. So that is the solution to this equation. So again, the steps just basically break up your exponential equation into two parts, into two equations, put both of them into Desmos or any graphing program. But for our purposes, we'll use Desmos. Locate the point of intersection and find the x value. Right? So that helps us solve when the bases aren't equal. If they are equal on any assessment, if you can find common bases, chances are you're going to be asked to show your work and solve it by hand. But when we don't have common bases, technology may be the option, as we see here.